Over the past 3 years, I've made many mistakes. But what I'll be sharing today won't just help you avoid those mistakes, but will push you closer to being able to crush those dream splits or distances that you've always wanted to demolish.
What's up, boys? As somebody who's trained for a 50K, a half marathon, and now training for my 100-mile ultra, I feel I have learned a good amount over these 3 years, and focusing on pillar 1 is extremely crucial to push you forward to make the running gains you really want.
Good morning, it's like 6 a.m. right now, so I have to be a little quiet. I'm getting ready for my pre-run meal, and guess what I'm smacking down? Carbohydrates.
Carbs are the gasoline in our running engine. So if you're not getting enough carbs, it's like trying to run a car on empty. So as runners, we need to make sure our carb intake is locked. A great rule of thumb that many people go by to ensure they're getting enough carbs in is to try and eat a certain amount of carbs based off how much you train. And once you dial that approximate number in, you'll really feel the difference.
Okay, so it's post-run right now. I am smacking down on some overnight oats. And I think for physical performance, timing of your meals is way more important than most people think.
There's a reason I eat 150 grams of carbs right after my workouts and 80 grams right before. And that's because my body needs those carbs at that specific time. For example, after a hard session, your body is like a drained battery. If you don't recharge it, you're not showing up with full power the next day. A great rule of thumb that I stick to is to eat carbs before and after my workouts. And if you lock these two pieces in, you have the majority of timing down.
It's a little bit later in the day. We're cooking up lunch. It's a little bit of a mess. But even if you have your macros down, the timing of your meals down, if you're not giving your body the amount of energy that it needs, you will for sure underperform and potentially even get injured.
I know, we all love calories. And this is a perk of running. Because if you're under eating, especially for long periods of time, your body will start prioritizing survival over performance, which means you won't heal or recover as quick. In order to avoid this, just try and maintain or be in a slight calorie surplus if you want the best performance and recovery. But even if you have your diet completely locked in but your training system is whack, your performance will greatly suffer.
Alright, so we are out here on an 8-mile easy run. And over my now almost 3 years of running experience, a 50K, a half marathon, and now training for my first 100-mile ultra, I have learned a lot. And what I've found for me is that one of the most important topics to gaining endurance and stamina is ramping up your mileage properly.
I see a steady increase in my endurance the more mileage I run. Now, this doesn't just mean I could jump from 30 miles a week to 80 miles a week and expect a big performance boost, but a way you can pretty much guarantee you'll gain more stamina is to ramp up your volume by about 10% a week, and over time you will see massive performance increases.
I'm about halfway into my easy run, and a couple of days ago I was on a run with my cousin, and he was talking about how he gets so bored on his easy run.
We've all been on easy runs where we just wanted to end, but making sure we actually run our easy runs easy allows us to run our hard days hard. I almost think of my easy runs as free miles, because they're an easy way to get the miles logged without fatiguing my body that much. A great rule of thumb to balance this is to have 80% of your easy runs easy and 20% tempo or long. This allows your body to push when you need to and build that base as well.
But before we get on to the next two tips and the bonus tip at the end of the video, I just want to say you could have your diet locked in and your training locked in, but if you are not consistent and actually show up to do the workouts whenever you're supposed to, your progress will be absolutely destroyed, and it's really hard to make gains that way. So stick to your workout plan.
I'm not a joyride, a hit and run.
When I don't have my hydration locked in and I'm out on the trails running, I could feel a sense of elevated stress inside of me. It makes my perception of the workouts harder. I feel it makes me less mentally tough, all because I didn't take care of 2 simple hydration tips. The way I stay hydrated to avoid this added fatigue and perform at my best is to drink around 1.5 gallons a day, depending on my training and how much I'm sweating, with some electrolytes before and after my run. And on long runs, during my training session, my water intake stays relatively consistent, but electrolytes adjust based on conditions. Over time, you'll start to sense when you need them, but it's hard to narrow this in because it's so different for everyone. Sitting in front of me here is the 3 most important pieces of gear that I use. And although gear is not essential, having the right pair of shoes, a watch that tracks your data, and a heart rate monitor to see what zone you are actually running in have propelled my running forwards to a level which I would have not been able to hit without this gear. And even though gear is not a necessity, I highly recommend a watch, heart rate monitor, and a good pair of shoes, because I was stuck at a plateau in in my running. And without the heart rate monitor and watch addition, I would have no idea I was running at the wrong pace. This gear can make you perform better with less fatigue, so I would highly recommend getting these 3 pieces of gear plus a running pack if you're doing long runs. And anything after that, I think, is unnecessary.
If you sign up for a race and get closer to that race, the odds of you having to do long run training are incredibly high. And like pretty much everything else in running, long run fueling will come over time. But after 3 years, this is my strategy that I follow.
The long run is mega important in your training to get your body used to endurance. And fueling these long runs will allow your body not only to perform better in long distances, but for the ultra runners out there, you can train your stomach as well. A good rule of thumb that I aim for is 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour. I do a refuel every 25 to 30-ish minutes. And I've learned that having packaged individual goods like an Uncrustable or a granola bar makes it a lot easier and more convenient to get your fuel in. So just to keep it as simple as possible, we'll recap all 4 sections. For your diet, as long as you eat carbs before and after your runs, you're pretty much good. For your training, if you just stay consistent as possible while keeping 80% of your runs at an easy pace, that's a good rule of thumb to go by. And make sure you drink a bunch of water and electrolytes throughout, during, and around your training. And if you're really getting into it, buy some solid gear. But following this should allow you to crush your dream distance and pace as you rip across the bright red tape at the finish line, knowing the hard work you put in paid off not only for your health, but for your goals too.